Hey YouTube, welcome back. I just wanted to put out a quick update on the Madeline Soto case. The Kissimmee Police Chief Betty Holland gave a press conference yesterday, updating us all on where the investigation's at. If you've been following the case like I have, you were probably hoping for murder charges to be announced, or for an in-depth release on the status of the investigation. I know that's what I was expecting. And yet, we got a very brief conference, with really no new information put out at all. I understand the frustrations that this can cause, but there are many reasons behind it. So let's go through the press conference together, so I can give you all my input on the situation. For those who don't know, my name is Blue, and I'm a police officer with 10 years of experience. I'll do my best to give you guys whatever inside look into the investigation that I can, and hopefully explain why I believe they're being so incredibly strict on what information is being released. So let's get into it. Okay, so first things first. Madeline was reported missing on February 26th, almost a month ago. In that time, her stepfather, Stefan Stearns, has been arrested for heinous crimes against her of a sexual nature, and this abuse was ongoing for quite a long period of time. If you want to hear more about that, you can check out my video here, where I go over the arrest affidavit for Stearns. And about a week or two after his arrest, police would hit him with 60 new charges, again all stemming from sexual battery of a child of varying ages and other related charges. But since then, we haven't heard a single thing from police. No updates, no new charges, no news of how Madeline lost her life, or if anyone else was involved, just nothing. So let's get into what they did have to say. So the chief starts off by giving us a synopsis of the case, which most of us already know pretty well. Again, nothing new. But then she tells us that they're still piecing together a timeline leading up to Madeline's death. This is, after all, still an ongoing case. And with the stakes this high, you want to make sure we get it right. But still, I know many of us are asking the same thing. What's taking so long? Well, the chief goes on to say that detectives have been interviewing basically anyone and everyone they can, on top of waiting for forensic results and analysis, as well as the autopsy report. These investigations do take time, but if I had to guess, I would think that there may be much more going on, at least than we can see in the public. I can't help but wonder who all these people are in Madeline's life that are being interviewed, but if I had to guess, it would likely be classmates, teachers, any close friends, parents, and perhaps relatives, even distant ones. They're likely mainly looking to see if Madeline had told anyone in her life about the abuse she was suffering at home. I'm guessing the police have the same questions on their mind that many of us do. How does a child as young as Madeline, and remember she was 11 years old and maybe even younger when this abuse started, keep this a secret from everyone for so long? I'm sure we were all hoping for an answer to that at least. But since the chief's conference was lacking, let's go to the Q&A portion. There are some good questions that were asked, and while the chief isn't able to give more answers at this time, I can at least try to tackle them and give my insight. Let's take a look.
We know that you're working behind the scenes during this investigation to make sure everything is in order, but what can you tell us new today that we don't already know?
I don't have anything new that you don't already know, other than our detectives are working tirelessly day in and day out to ensure, all the facts are uncovered in this investigation.
So this first question sounds like it comes from a place of frustration. As she has asked, is there anything new that you can tell us today? That's a sentiment I'm sure many of us share right now. But as the chief said, they do not feel they can share any more information other than what we already have, because they do not want to compromise the integrity of the investigation. That's not just an excuse either. There have been instances where releasing the information too early can cause serious damage to the investigation, sometimes ruining it. One famous example of this is the information that was mistakenly released during a press conference while police were hunting the Night Stalker, also known as Richard Ramirez. He had very unique shoes, and these linked him to numerous crime scenes. Once the mayor announced this fact during a press conference, he got rid of the shoes, and it became that much harder to link him to additional crime scenes. Additionally, they also never found those shoes.
Chief Holland, is the mother a suspect or a person of interest in this investigation? And also, with the videos that you uncovered, is there any evidence of the mother's involvement on any of these videos?
So everyone that was close to Madeline is considered suspect until we have proven otherwise.
This is a very graphic question, even if it doesn't seem like it. Naturally, we all want to know if Madeline's mother had any involvement in this case, or if she was totally innocent. As time passes and more information becomes available, it becomes harder to simply believe that she was totally clueless as to what was happening. And the time frame discrepancy from her statement on the police report to their time frame of Madeline's death is disturbing. But the disturbing question the reporter asks is, based on the video footage that was found on Stefan's phone, was Madeline's mother involved in any way? This would imply that she at least recorded the abuse, and at worst implies that she had a part in it herself. I do not personally believe this to be the case. Look at how swiftly police acted in arresting Stearns once they had the evidence on his phone. If her mother was implicated, then I doubt very much she would still be free. But listen to how she ends this. Everyone close to Madeline is a suspect until proven otherwise. Again, she does not clearly state that Madeline's mother has been cleared and is not suspected of any wrongdoing. That's very telling in my opinion. Now, I do wonder if there was another party involved at all, and I've seen some of you wonder if Madeline was possibly the victim of human trafficking. I really hope the answers come out in time, and anyone and everyone who had a hand in this never steps foot out of a prison again.
Chief, how close are we able to know what actually happened to Madeline Soto?
Well, this is a very sensitive and, it's very intricate. We want to make sure that we uncover every single fact and all the evidence before, we don't want to put a timeline on it, basically, because the detectives are very meticulous in what they do, and we want to be sure that everything is uncovered that possibly can.
So the next question is, what exactly happened to her? Everybody wants to know a cause of death, naturally. But as the chief said, this is again under lock and key. A timeline is vital to both the prosecution and the defense. If they were to release it now, it could definitely impact the investigation, as it sounds like more arrests may be coming.
No, ma'am, we are still waiting on the medical examiner's report.
Another question comes in about the cause of Madeline's death, and I am personally shocked to hear that they're still waiting for the medical examiner's report to come back. These autopsies are not done overnight, but generally speaking, when they take this long, we're likely waiting on DNA or some other forensic evidence that takes longer to process. Also keep in mind that Madeline likely suffered a good deal of decay, making the autopsy and determining her cause of death that much harder.
We're still uncovering all of those details. I'm not going to speculate on that until we have the facts.
Was Madeline killed in her home or somewhere else? Again, a very tight-lipped response. This is a huge question, especially considering the statement Madeline's mother gave to police. Per the missing person report, her mother claims to have seen Madeline getting ready for school at 8 a.m. the morning of her disappearance. But police have said they believe Madeline to have been deceased prior to 7:30 that same morning, when Stefan was seen dumping her backpack and school laptop out in a dumpster. This is a very big problem, one that I personally cannot wait to have the answer to.
Chief, can you tell us if Stephen Stearns acted alone in all of this?
We're still uncovering all the evidence. I don't want to speculate whether he was or not. We will wait until the investigation, is completed to make that determination.
Again, another reporter wanted to know if Stefan acted alone in the murder and abuse of Madeline. The chief claims that she does not want to speculate on that, but I can nearly guarantee that she knows whether or not he was. If he had acted alone and all the evidence proved that, they would say it, as that would be considered low-risk info, and it makes the community feel safer, knowing a dangerous person is not still prowling around. But, as she answers, it seems that there is surely another person involved, and they don't want to ruin the investigation before they can make an arrest.
Has Stephen Stearns said he acted alone, or what has he said in interviews with you? Since we know he's in jail.
Yes.
What has he told you about other people's involvement, if any?
He has invoked his right to a lawyer, so we have not spoke with him.
Stefan, we hear, has refused to speak to police without an attorney present.
Is there any time that you can expect an update for us? The public is asking every single day, and we understand that you're working on the investigation, but we would like to give them something.
I don't want to rush my detectives. I think it's paramount that they take their time, and Mr. Stearns is not going anywhere. He's in jail and he's going to be there for a while, so my detectives, I want them to be, just look at every single detail and make sure, but I don't want to give a timeline at this point.
So when will we get an update? Normally, I would write this off as reporters just being desperate for the next big story. But the reporter is right. The public at large is heavily invested in this case, and everyone is dying to know the truth of who is responsible for the terrible things done to Madeline, and what exactly it was that was done to her. But the chief is correct here. You absolutely cannot rush the detectives. Rushed work is often sloppy work, and on a case as intricate as this, like with many murder cases, you take all the time you need to make sure it gets done right.
Chief, you mentioned you're working closely with the medical examiner. What does that relationship kind of look like, and what information are they able to release to you before that exam is complete?
So, not really. I wouldn't say that they've released an information. We depend on the medical examiner's report for our report, so we're going to have to wait until they release that report.
The chief seems to dodge this question a bit. In my experience, detectives are there when the autopsy is done, and they have a great relationship with the medical examiner's office. I would not be surprised if they speak daily, and I'm sure detectives already at the least have an idea of what could have caused Madeline's death.
Do you believe there are any additional victims?
No, it appears that this all was isolated to the home.
Are there any other victims? The chief indirectly answers this, claiming that this was isolated to the home, which either refers to the location it happened or just the members of the home. This again seems to confirm what many people are already suspecting, that Madeline Soto is the victim for each and every one of those charges Stearns is facing, which is absolutely horrific. but let's wait and see what else is said.
Chief, I'm still trying to get a sense of things. Do you still feel like you have more questions than answers at this point?
I think our questions are being answered slowly but surely. For the integrity of the investigation, we have to, keep things close until such time as we hold those accountable for her death.
The chief here says, hold those accountable for her death. I wonder if she slipped here and accidentally let on that more than one person is responsible for Madeline's death.
Do you feel like this is taking longer than it should because Stearns is not speaking?
No, I just think that, sometimes these investigations are just very lengthy. We know that he is in jail and he is not going anywhere. So the detectives are just making sure they cross the T's and dot their I's. They want to put together, a foolproof investigation.
The chief answers this one perfectly, so I'll move on.
Chief, is the mother and the family members being cooperative and answering questions? Have they lawyered up? And also the father of Madeline, who is not a Florida resident, is he a part of this investigation or at least being asked questions?
We have interviewed, all those family members that are close. Mother has cooperated. She did give us an interview. So there's, no one is not cooperating other than Stearns.
So is Madeline's mom cooperating? And is Madeline's blood father also involved in the investigation? She says that Madeline's mom has given an interview, but does not confirm whether or not she is lawyered up. She very well may have gotten a lawyer, but could still be getting interviewed. I do notice that she hasn't really given any interviews with media since her initial ones, but that's not really so surprising, I think, considering Madeline's recent death. Again, I'm going to reserve judgment on whether or not she had any involvement until more facts come out.
We know that the crimes were committed in the home. We also have, the date of birth of the person, but we have not confirmed that is Madeline Soto. Would you be able to confirm that information for us?
Right, so all of the charges are with children under the age of 18, and they are protected. Their identity is protected under the law.
The next question is, was Madeline the only victim? But here, the chief uses pretty odd verbiage, which seems to imply that there are other victims in this case, even after claiming that everything happened in the house. That could mean that many of those 60 charges, the ones dealing with indecent pictures of children, could be pictures he got off of the internet or gathered in some other way. Pictures of other children. In either case, it does sound now like Madeline might not be the only victim.
So it's going to expect, it's been a couple of weeks, nobody's charged for the murder of Madeline. Nobody knows exactly what happened to Madeline. We can expect in the couple days someone's going to face charge for the murder of Madeline Soto.
When the detectives put their case together, like I said before, they want to ensure their investigation is tight. We're working, hand in hand with the state attorney's office to ensure, every piece of evidence is revealed and uncovered. So I can't put a timeline on when that might be.
Will there be murder charges announced in the next few days? The number one question on everybody's mind right now, to be sure. Again, we get a bit of an evasive answer, basically whenever the detectives are done. But it's not a bad answer. We want them to take their time and get it right. It's just rough being on this side of things, with so many unanswered questions. I know it was rough for everyone to have this flood of information as the case was breaking, and then nothing. But if I had to guess, I personally think we should get some answers, and maybe even more charges in the next 2 weeks.
And Chief, with his cell phone, there's just one thing to understand here. So he originally went to the Orange County Sheriff's Office. At least that's what we understand. He gave the cell phone to the Orange County Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff's Office then found something on his phone which led to an arrest. In the arrest affidavit from Kissimmee PD, it says he offered his phone freely to Kissimmee PD. Can you kind of explain how that happened? Because I just have a tough time understanding how somebody who's been arrested for something on his phone freely gives a phone up again.
Well, I don't know the intricate details I do know that the Orange County Sheriff's Office and Kissimmee Police Department were working hand in hand, during, the actual disappearance investigation. So I don't want to speak on exactly how that happened, but it's not uncommon for us to ask someone if they want to, give up their phone.
Okay, so I'm not sure what the confusion here is, but let me try to clarify. When the sheriff's office interviewed Stefan, they asked him if he would like to consent to a search of his phone to rule him out as a suspect. Stefan agreed to this, but claimed he had accidentally factory reset his phone. Accidentally. In reality, he did this to cover up the evidence of his crimes, but police found it anyway. The Kissimmee Police Department then stepped in, because the home where all this occurred is in their jurisdiction. So they were the ones to draft an arrest affidavit on Stefan, the first one we saw when they announced his arrest. So he did not get arrested after 2 times giving his phone up to police. The Kissimmee detective just detailed that Stefan originally gave consent to search the phone to the sheriff's agency. At least this is how I understood the reporter's question, so I hope that clears it up, if his question confused you like it did me. If I missed his point, please leave it in the comments. I'll try my best to answer it better there. And with several other minor questions also being shrugged off, the interview ends. And so does any chance for a clearer picture into the abuse and eventual murder of Madeline Soto, at least for now. I know it's frustrating, guys, trust me, but just keep an ear open for any other news that could get released on this. I have a good feeling that more is coming, and that it's likely coming sooner than we think. And the trial is going to be crazy. I'll do my best to cover it as the days go on, and walk you guys through all the evidence and prosecutor arguments. If you're a fan of all things true crime, consider subscribing. If not, you're still welcome. But let me know what you guys think, your thoughts, frustrations, and predictions with the case. I'll do my best to interact with you guys, and I'll try to answer any questions you all have. But outside of that, I'll see you guys next time. And as always, stay safe and stay tuned.